One of the things I see a lot from mentees is wasting time on prospects that aren't prospects. They're not serious about selling the business. They end up taking tons of time, and the mentee ends up spending, and I've had this happen for not only months, but years, working with a seller that isn't going to ultimately sell. So I wanted to take this video to really cover this. It's a super important point. I actually wrote down some points I wanted to make. So, are you spending time chasing deals and those people are just tire kickers? This process is hard enough without spending time and wasting time on people who are never going to sell you the business and maybe just interested on what it's worth or seeing what the prospects for selling the business are. That's not who you want to talk to. So let's talk about the 3-part acid test that you should use with every prospect. So if you're serious about acquisitions, every deal should pass through these 3 things. The third one, a little less, but most of the time, that's the case as well. First, is the seller motivated? 2, is the business profitable? And then 3, usually, is the seller over 60? It's not always the case, but particularly when you're reaching out and prospecting, if you can segment those prospects that are 60 and over, you're going to have more success. So let's take a look at each one of those in some detail. So first thing, and this is the most important thing without any question, and oftentimes is overlooked, is how do you know if the seller is motivated? Well, you ask. What do I say a lot? Never ask, never get. And you don't have to be disrespectful in doing that. You can be if you want, but you don't have to be. It's just to say, we're talking to a lot of people interested in selling the business. And it's interesting, they fall into 2 categories. The category of those people that are, kind of interested, maybe if it's right, I would do something, but I'm in no real hurry. Things are going pretty well. And those that are motivated to sell, they understand that the deal has to be good for them, but they want to do that. And I'm curious as to which camp you are in. Are you in the camp of those that are just interested in learning what the process is and maybe what your business is worth? Or is this a goal of yours that you have with a sense of urgency? I understand the deal has to be right, but you want to sell the business for any variety of reasons. And we've talked about those. So it's simple, it's direct, it's responsive. And if they dodge or give you a vague answer, that tells you a ton. It tells you that they really aren't motivated, that they haven't thought about this. So you are not here to convince people to sell. You are here to find those people that are motivated to sell and then marry up your offer to what their goals are for the sale of their business, okay? So the second filter, is this a profitable business? We are not in a turnaround business mode, especially at the beginning. This is too hard. You probably don't have the cash flow to go through those. And why are you doing all this work for a business that won't return any profit for you? So don't waste your time trying to fix a broken business. Move on. And the quicker you can identify that, the better. You don't have to wait until you get the financials. You can say to somebody, would it be helpful if I gave you the criteria of what we're looking for? And I'm just going to make these up. Yours are going to be different probably. But they'll say yes. Okay, so minimum revenue or turnover, $1 million, whatever your currency is or better, a profit margin of at least 20% gross profit margin. And boy, that's low. You want it to be 30 or 40. And then obviously motivated sellers. So you want motivated sellers. You're going through your acid test right here. Is the business profitable? And you can tell what the age of the person is. So make sure that you understand what this business is and how profitable it is. You don't need to get the NDA to them. Get their request fulfilled for you to see the financials. If the answer is, yeah, we made $250,000 last year, and no, we haven't been profitable in 3 years. Next, you don't need to ask them to do all the things to get you these things if you know that answer from the beginning. So as soon as you can pre-qualify, let's do that. And then, is the seller 60 years of age or older? That's not always the case, but it's most often the case. Why are they doing this? They're thinking about retirement, family, health, divorce. I go through the 7 Ds in the seller finance, seller Ds meaning the motivations for selling, in the seller finance course. So remember that. Are they 60 and over? That's usually a good indicator. And then the other 2 items that we talked about. First, are they motivated? And 2, is the business profitable? So that's the bottom line. And remember, time is your most valuable asset. So move through those 3 things as fast as you can and use that acid test. Motivated seller, profitable business, 60 years of age and older. And I would encourage you to do something I say all the time, and that is, don't ask, don't get. So ask. Ask those questions. They're not odd questions to ask. They are not disrespectful to ask. You're pre-qualifying. And so remember, are you in the curious group or are you in the serious group? That's what you want to do. That one question could save you months of effort, let you sort out the wheat from the chaff, and get on to businesses which are indeed prospects that you have the best chance of closing. So that is the acid test. Make sure that you pay attention to that. Make sure that you ask those questions. Make sure you can check those off. And if you can, your chances of success are much better than stumbling your way through, trying to convince someone who really doesn't have any great motivation to sell. So that will serve you well. If you don't know the steps, it's really important to follow the steps. Go over to brucewhipple.com and take a look at the Acquisition Advantage Bootcamp. Those are the best series of steps and how they're explained in templates that I've done. And then this month, we're opening up group coaching again. Take a look at group coaching. There's spots in that, brucewhipple.com. You can see what the details are behind that. But remember that acid test, write those things down, and then make sure that you can check those boxes. And if you can do that, your odds of success will be much better than those that bumble their way through.